Maybe I don't even need the mic. Well, thank you so much, Sasha, for introing me, and Seda for welcoming me here. And on top of Seda, for everybody else making me feel so welcomed here. I've been in Armenia, in Yerevan, for just a bit over 24 hours, but it's a bit back. Okay, there we go. I just want to be closer to the audience. So yeah, thank you so much for welcoming me here for my just humble 24 hours in the country so far. What really left an impression on me is that it's a beautiful mix between tradition and technology. And I guess that's also what I'll be speaking about today. Communication as such, it's part of our tradition and it's been, here for a while, and hopefully it will be here for a long while as well. So without further ado, let's deep dive. We have quite a few things to unpack today, which is mainly communication in the Metaverse, SuperApps and AI and how that changes it. As Sasha mentioned, I'm Petya. I work for Rakuten Viber, which is a 1 billion logins global messaging platform. So let's deep dive. First things first, what is the Metaverse? Of course, we heard the beautiful explanation that Seda's daughter gave us at the beginning, and there is so much more that you can see out there in terms of the definition, but it's still quite vague. So, what is actually the Metaverse? Like, what is the actual definition? Well, there is not really one. If you do this mental exercise, try to think of a sentence which features the Metaverse in it. Now, change that word with cyberspace. Over 90% of the time, this really wouldn't change that much the context of what you're trying to say. And why is that? Well, that's because Metaverse is not a certain set of technologies or a certain technology that is being used. It's more about describing, quite vaguely as well, the shift that we as humans have been addressing and facing in terms of how we utilize technology for communication and other purposes. So, SuperApps. This one is a bit more straightforward. So what are SuperApps? I'm sure you already use them, but the definition of SuperApps is that it's a one-stop shop digital platform that serves most of your digital needs and purposes. So think about anything from ordering a taxi, getting lavash delivered to your door, I'm obsessed with it, or even like having a digital class with yoga with your instructor. Everything else, everything and more could be done on digital platforms like SuperApps. And they definitely are here to stay, not only right now, but also in the future. What we see is that 50% of the global population, which is a fair bit of users, are expected to be using SuperApps on a daily basis in the next 3 to 4 years. And in 2023, so for 10 years from now, we expect to see over $887 billion market value of that industry. So what makes a super app a super app? Well, there's quite a lot of criteria that you can see here, but the most interesting and the most important 3 ones would be ads, payments, and of course conversational commerce or commercial conversations. So super apps are so much more than communication. As I mentioned, there is also the services in terms of payments, in terms of ads, and different ways of expressing yourself. So what we see is that 70% of users definitely do want to use a super app on a daily basis for all of their digital needs. And it seems that they're already doing it, because when we look into super apps along the world, we see that the leaders are different in different markets, but a few types of leaders are the communication platforms, like Rakuten Viber, WhatsApp, Line, Kakao, WeChat, and so on. And this is not a surprise, because basically what a super app needs to have, or what needs to happen with a super app to become one, is, again, quite a few criteria, but the main ones being communication services, commercial services, and lots of audience to basically utilize that. So, scale coming from the audience, high engagement, and lots of integrations, partnerships, API capabilities to power these commercial and personal conversations as well. So, I know why this one is not showing ideally, but basically different apps approach in a different way. On Viber, for example, when a person communicates with their friends, they would be able to see different branded stickers, augmented reality lenses, or different emojis, and then they would lead very naturally to chatbots, virtual assistants, or commercial business accounts where they can continue with purchasing the service or the product that they had in mind within the timeline and the context that they basically need and want. last but not least for my today's presentation is what AI is. Like, obviously everybody's talking about it, and we heard our previous brilliant presenter speaking about it as well quite a bit. So I'm not going to deep dive too much. But before we move into the future, let's take a look at what's happening right now and what happens also in the past. So we saw that ChatGPT managed to reach over 100 million users within only 2 months, which was definitely one of the world records in terms of getting user base of that scale that quickly. And of course, that divided our society. You could be either very excited about it, quite worried or concerned, or you could be somewhere in the middle. Now, if you're in the middle, please pay lots of attention, because I'm sure you're going to change to one of the other part of the spectrum there to the end of the conference. So what happened with AI? Like, now we speak about the revolution, the technology, everything that's going to happen, the future and all of that. But things started quite a long time ago, actually in the 50s. The first thing that kind of kicked off the whole thing with AI was Alan Turing and his Turing test. I guess you guys are familiar with it, but basically what it means is that it tests the capability of a machine to mimic human intelligence and human experiences. Then in the 60s, the next very big milestone was developed, which was the first AI programming language called Lisp. Then in the 70s to the 90s, basically there was lots of testing and movement and development. So the initial AI systems became quite expert, quite developed and enhanced. And that led us all to the beginning of the century, where the real pavement for the current revolution of AI really happened. And there are 3 things which were really drivers of that. Well, one thing really, but 3 topics. So the research and development really focused on 3 key things. So the first one was computer vision. In a way, I kind of imagine this in my head, or I kind of describe it to people as like, that's kind of our eyesight, right? Like what we see, how we see it, how we perceive it. Then it was NLP, natural language processing, which of course is the ability to understand language and context. And the third thing is robotics, which would be more or less the extended body of an AI, or our physics. And now we get to the revolution of AI. What is the revolution of AI? Again, I love simplifying terms. So this is basically the recent involvement and focus on AI technology, on AI research and development, and a lot of investment and monetary value, which companies like NVIDIA, Google, Apple, Meta, and so on are investing in terms of that field and development. So what's the future? Well, or what's the current situation? We're seeing the commercialization of AI, which is what the revolution of AI essentially brings us to. So what does it mean? How are we going to see that in our everyday life? Mainly by the 3 main examples now: self-driving cars, which also the previous speaker mentioned, virtual assistants, chatbots of all types, and digital experiences with them. And now, to the final topic of my speech today. So how AI really changes communication on the super platforms. Communication, as I said, have been with us for quite a bit. And it's really a thing that I cherish a lot, and I'm very thankful for that. And I'm also very thankful for the technology that also managed to aid that and grow it to the next level. So from verbal and non-verbal initial communication in the very, very old times of our human history, then we moved to email, to calls, and now to messaging platforms, email, all type of digital conversations. So you can see that the forms have been very, very different throughout the years, and especially after the Industrial Revolution. But one thing that has always been the same is that language and the ability to understand language and human facial expressions have been the actual driver of communication and of speech. So how AI changes that? This is just a few examples, and of course with every change there's lots of opportunities that come, but also some threats and some challenges that need to be factored in or regulated. So when it comes to threats, I just wanted to bring to your attention a few examples of the current situation. Earlier this year, this lady on the right is an ethical hacker, and within 30 seconds, only using a 3-second sound clip of a real human, managed to hack her personal data and get her passport details, among other bits of information. Another example is this woman. She's an American, she's a mother, And what happened to her is that she got a very disturbing call from allegedly her daughter, which was saying that she's been abducted, and in order to be released and to be safe, she needs to, her mother needs to pay a ransom of $1 million, which of course was a scam, again used within only a few seconds of a clip. And these clips, maybe you think, oh, okay, where is my voice? Everywhere. Social media, different events, even your LinkedIn when you're part of an event, right? Like there is lots of opportunities for AI to be able to find voice. And now that it recognizes it, it can do almost whatever it wants with it. On top of voice, AI can also recognize face now. We've all seen those deep fakes, some of them entertaining, some of them quite disturbing, on YouTube or on the internet of politicians or celebrities and stars. As I said, some of them could be quite fun, but some other, you can imagine how badly they can be used to somebody's in favor. So what does that lead us to? Well, on top of humans, now AI also has the opportunity to unlock our conversations and communication. And if you're still not sure if that's the case, let me give you another example. In March this year, are you familiar with TaskRabbit, by the way, the platform? You don't seem very sure. Okay, so earlier this year, ChatGPT managed to basically to safely complete a task of unlocking a CAPTCHA. So CAPTCHA is the way that humans essentially confirm they're humans in the internet space, right? So what happened is that ChatGPT bypassed that, which was a miracle, which was insane. So how did it manage to do it? Via this platform, TaskRabbit, which is where people give or take different jobs for other people. So what it happens is that it basically hired a worker on TaskRabbit to solve the CAPTCHA for him. Of course, the person is not, he didn't live under a rock, he knows what's happening, so he was a bit confused, so he asked, okay, like, why do you need that, like, who are you? And the ChatGPT basically performed a little theatrics for him, saying that it's a visually impaired person and they need support to access their internet services. Of course, the person helped straight away, and ChatGPT made history with this AI hacking the CAPTCHA system. So, where does this lead us to? There's different services or features that we can see on SuperApps and telecommunication platforms already starting to be developed, and we expect them to be in the very near future with us too. So the first thing is an AI detector. If you guys remember the antivirus programs from the 90s, this is more or less the same experience but for humans and AI. So essentially a detection, are you speaking with a human or an artificial intelligence persona in the internet space. That same technology could be used in a different way as well, to warn humans of other malicious human intentions. So essentially, this is an anti-spam and an anti-scam type of a policy which we would be able to see soon as well on SuperApps and messaging platforms. Oh, that's a very good example. It's one of my favorites. So a mood detector, again, not only challenges arise from AI being so smart, but also opportunities. Imagine you have a very important conversation with your boss. You want them to, give you more budget for a project you're super in love and excited about, or give you more budget to hire a new person for your team. Well, those conversations are quite important to be done when that person is in a good mood, at least it has a bit of a positive connotation, a positive vibe for the day. So basically, that's exactly what AI can provide. It can detect very easily through keywords and semantics what's your mood and address the other person to act accordingly. Another very good one, which I absolutely cannot wait to use, is smart bill splitting. So we've all, or most of us, have lived with roommates, with flatmates, friends, and so on, and splitting the bill can sometimes be a big pain, right? So through group chats, AI can basically detect who bought tickets, who paid for utilities, who was the one who actually sorted out dinner last week, and very quickly prompt the user to send the needed sum to the person who is who needs to get it. So that would be quite cool, I think. And my last example for today, but definitely not the least, because it's one of the best ones. We've all have those group chats, right, with our family, friends, even co-workers sometimes, and they're sometimes too long to read. If you miss something, you feel like, you have never been part of the conversation before. So what AI can do for us to help us minimize time and, a bit of a pain reading the whole thing, is to understand what are the main takeaways, what is the summary, and give it to us in a very summarized and good way. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Hopefully you guys realize that AI and super apps are definitely here to stay. They're changing the way we communicate, which also opens threats but opportunities for us and ways for us to continue growing our communication experiences within the digital space. And I've been told that, good presenters have a call to action at the end, so there I am with my call to action. So let's talk in the Metaverse. Please find me. My name is Petya, or you can just scan this QR code and let's get connected. Thank you so much.